Introducing first, fighting out of the red corner, wearing blue with silver. Official weight, 139 pounds. As a professional, his record is perfect. 41 bouts, 41 victories, including 30 knockouts. From Manchester, England, the former WBA welterweight world champion and former IBF, WBA and universally recognized undisputed light welterweight champion of the world, the undefeated Ricky Hitman Hatton. Fighting out of the blue corner, wearing blue, official weight 139 pounds. Professional record 18 bouts with 17 victories, including 13 knockouts and 1 draw. Fighting out of Hollywood, Florida, originally from Monterrey, Colombia. Presenting the reigning, defending, undefeated IBF light welterweight champion of the world, Juan, Iron Twin, Urango.
Let's go now. Let's go. Okay, gentlemen, caballeros, you already received your instructions. Ustedes recibió instrucciones. Okay, right here is good. Anything that's going to be below. Yeah, aquí está bien, aquí no. Right here is good. Anything that's going to be low. Aquí está bien, aquí no. I want a good, clean fight. Yo quiero una pelea limpia. Obey my commands at all times. Above all, protect yourselves at all times. Escúchame, cuídate, listo, ready, let's go. Vámonos.
Fighting an aggressive fighter like Urango. Hatton says he will not always fight fire with fire in this fight. There is a rumor that he may have some boxing skills.
Hatton starts fast as always.
Yeah, but he does have some boxing skills. I think he shows that. It shows that in a couple of fights. And that's the one reason that I like him a lot better than a lot of anxiety-type young fighters. He still boxes very well.
As they broke apart from the opening clinch, Urango ripped Hatton's cheek with a right hook. But Ricky Hatton can take a shot. That's one of the things that makes him so special. One of the greatest coincidences in the sport, Larry Merchant. If Hatton wins tonight, he gets his record to 42-0. Great Britain's other tremendously dominant champion, Joe Calzaghe of Wales, at 168 pounds, is 42-0.
You know, I noticed it's I'm looking at the size of the gloves, and it's really obvious right away the gloves that Ricky Hatton has look so big. And I was aware of the fact that he's wearing 10-ounce gloves.
For the very first time.
Yes, and normally these are the gloves that fighters like Mike Tyson and Lennox Lewis have normally fought in, but now Nevada has a rule, I think, for anyone over 135 pounds has to wear the same gloves which guys like Lennox Lewis, which is about 100 pounds bigger.
And here you see Hatton standing outside not fighting fire with fire.
Hands free, motor sleepers.
So, Larry, the point is made already. If Hatton wants to, he can go into a stance and begin to use his jab and box, and already he's showing that he intends to do it tonight.
Urango, even though he's physically looking like a very strong muscle guy, he's really not that busy. He's waiting to counterpunch. And, you know, Hatton throws so many punches, it's going to be very difficult for him to just counterpunch Hatton's punches because they come in volumes. In addition to his footwork, Ricky's moving in and out, a lot more body movement as well as foot movement.
And now to solidify the other story you introduced, Emmanuel, Nevada, the only place which has instituted this safety measure requiring all fighters down to 135 to wear 10-ounce gloves. Do you think it truly makes fighters safer?
I can't say, but I mean, we have to start somewhere. And they had so many deaths, particularly in Nevada in the last year, more than probably any other major state, but they have so many fights here that they're just trying to find something that they can use as a gauge to see if it works out for safety. Personally, myself, I would say no. I would say with 8-ounce gloves for smaller guys. I think it makes for a better fight.
It is a violent sport. Maybe sometimes a better fight is a more dangerous fight, but people who install power lines or clean windows on the top of tall buildings or work in coal mines know that they're exposing themselves to danger as well. Pro football players have very difficult afterlives. Boxing isn't alone.
Hatton consistently beat Urango to the punch in that round.
Get him some great shoe shots. Bit straight stuff. To finish on some straight stuff. You know what I mean? Getting involved a little too quick. Step to the side a little bit. You're meeting him head on. You know what I mean? Where you're good is the angles. You've got the angles. You've got the balance. Don't meet this fucker head on. You know what I mean? And finish on some straight stuff. Let's have a bit more of a look at him. Yeah?
Come on, let's go. Let's lift up the pace. Move up the pace. Keep up the speed. You got to finish up top. You got to finish up top strong. He's scared of you. He's scared of you. All you have to do is pressure him. Pressure him. Throw your hands. Throw punches. Don't step backwards. Don't step back. Block your hands up and counter attack. Counter attack with 3. Finishing off with your hug. How do you feel it? Good, good.
Box numbers underline Larry's point that Hatton consistently beat Urango to the punch. 21 out of 85 for Hatton, 10 out of 49 for Urango. Urango came out and fought at a pace as though he's fighting against a normal guy. Hatton is no normal guy.
Yeah, and I think the fact that Ricky is going to make him fight at a faster pace than he normally likes to fight at is going to be a big factor going down the stretch. In particular, Ricky's having good success with his right hand through the center as well as his left uppercut between the gloves.
Because on record, if Urango thinks that Hatton's going to run out of gas because of the fast pace, he's probably got another thing coming.
Yeah, and that's just the one thing. A lot of guys that fight, intense fighters like Ricky, they're only good for 4 or 5 rounds. Ricky Hatton is one of the few fighters that can fight the whole 12 rounds with intensity.
Well, we're used to see him imposing his strength by consistent pressure on his opponents. He has opted at this point in the fight not to do that.
Yeah, he's faster on his feet than Urango, which is very interesting. Urango's much, much slower.
Incidentally, in the last fight, I introduced the concept of headbutts, and though we came close, it never really happened. But here you've got a southpaw come-forward fighter against a conventional come-forward fighter, and if ever there was a formula for headbutts, this is it. And Hatton, incidentally, cuts like Arturo Gatti.
He cuts, but he's fighting a very smart fight. In addition to moving with his feet, his upper body movement is very good. When he finishes his punches, he angles his body a lot where he doesn't get hit afterwards.
Hatton punching from various angles. Still faster than Urango midway through the second round. Urango hoping perhaps that he can impose bigger power and make himself a factor later in the fight. Urango's got a terrific-looking body. He's built like a junior middleweight at 140 pounds. Claims he doesn't lift weights at all, but the width of that back and the depth of his pectorals sure makes him look that way.
But the fact all of those muscles is what, to me, is seemingly slowing him down. Ricky is naturally strong, loose, flexible, and is much more fluid with his punches and his movement. Urango's going to have to step up the pace a little bit, unless he considers himself a devastating one-punch knockout guy, because he's falling further behind on points.
And the foot movement that Hatton is showing here far superior to what seemed to be the case against Luis Collazo in Boston last year when he was fighting 7 pounds north at 147. The layman says, how can it make that much difference, Emmanuel?
It makes a big difference. I mean, everybody's body's cut off at a certain point where you can lose weight at a certain point, and if you go beyond that, you're not effective. In the same way, when you're fighting those middleweights, is really what those guys at 147 are. They're coming for 160 normally. But it's a normal 160.
Yeah, by and large, through the first 2 rounds, Hatton landing 2 to every 1 that Urango lands.
You've got to be first, man. Be first. Don't wait for him to throw. Be first. Jab, jab, and throw your hands. You've got to pressure him more. Throw more punches. You understand? We're losing. We're losing. We're down. Come on, we're down. You got to be strong from the first round. Throw hard punches. Hard punches. You understand? You feeling good? All right. He's hitting you and he's hugging you. He's hitting you and he's grabbing. But come on, lively, lively.
Give me one. I'm sticking with the screw shot that we did in the gym last week. The work for this kid. He's strong now. He'll get weaker as the fight goes on, but not if you're using too much energy. There's nothing wrong with fucking stealing a rest, you know what I'm saying?
CompuBox numbers continue to make the point we're talking about. In that round, Urango 11 of 49, Hatton 26 out of 62. It's not very hard for a judge to score a round like that. Hard right hand coming up and under by Ricky Hatton. And remember, Hatton may expose himself to some damage by fighting the way he does, but he's proven he can take a shot. Stood in for 11 rounds against the extremely hard punching Costa Tszyu and made Tszyu quit on his stool.
And he fought at a very good tempo for the entire fight. But this fight here, he's given one of the best exhibitions I've saw in the boxing. I know he did it with being tacky, but he's fighting a very beautiful fight tonight in terms of technical fight.
Well, I love the phrase he used in his conversation with Larry Merchant yesterday. You don't always fight fire with fire.
See, that's the difference between he and Diego Corrales. Diego feels regardless of who he's fighting, he's got to show that he's more macho than they are. Even if he's 6 foot tall and he's fighting a guy 5'6".
Hatton mixing body punches in with consistent flow upstairs. Urango seeming to look to land one big shot and simply getting swamped in the punch output department for right now. Now there's a nice little right hook inside by Juan Urango. Hasn't really managed to land his left so far.
Well, even when he throws his left, he doesn't seem to have the power that his right hand has, even though he fights. But that probably is because of the fact he said he's really not a southpaw. When you look at his left hand, he doesn't really punch with it with that much authority.
Like marvelous Marvin Hagler, like Michael Moore, who lost his heavyweight championship to George Foreman, a right-handed guy who fights in a southpaw stance.
Yeah, and Marvin hurt a lot of people with his right hand.
There's a right hook that backs Hatton up a little bit, or Ricky was actually already backing up when he got caught with the punch. Urango seems to understand now that he needs to step up the pace if he's going to stay in the fight.
His cornerman gave him some great instructions. He's not going to win the fight at the pace that he's fighting at. He's got to step up and have a lot more intensity.
Look at Hatton ducking and slipping after landing to the body. This is high-quality stuff Ricky Hatton has shown you in the first 3 rounds.
Yeah, after he lands punches, he angles himself and twists off where he doesn't go straight back, and he gets away from getting hit with tail-end punches.
Throughout the last 2 weeks, he has expressed huge emotion about fighting in Las Vegas, saying, my hero Roberto Duran used to fight here. And of course, he can feel the support of the crowd here, just as in Manchester, where the house would be packed with 22,000 all screaming.
But I tell you what, Urango is making him really fight. Urango is, even though he's not punching that much, Urango's putting a lot of pressure on Ricky and making Ricky expend a lot of energy.
Well, not for nothing as Urango won the title and is an unbeaten fighter. 13 KOs in 18 fights.
He tasted your power. He tasted your power already. You got it? Press him. Press him. He doesn't like it. He knows you've got a hard hand. Come on. Go in with 3 punches. Combination. You got to throw more. Throw more. In and out. In and out. Throw.
Yeah, you see Urango coming back with a... Okay.
You've got to drain this kid. You've got to drain him. You understand? You're a little bit cute. You feel okay?
Right here you see Ricky Hatton throw a right hand, perfectly timed, right between the gap of the gloves, and he caught Urango. And in fact, he's been very effective punching between the gloves tonight, all night long on Urango. And right here you see Urango come right back with a beautiful right punch, and that is the type of a punch that Ricky has to watch out for. The tail-end punches that he gets hit with sometimes.
It might help Hatton tonight that the last outing was also against the southpaw, Luis Collazo, and Collazo tattooed him a lot with good right hooks. Harold Letterman, how do you have it scored through 3?
Jim, 3-0, 30-27. Ricky Hatton. He's outworking him, Jim. He's landing him more shots, and he's winning the fight, even though I think he's going the wrong direction, going to his right all night. But, you know, Jim, I got to comment on something you said in the first round. Those boxing gloves, that glove is almost up to Ricky Hatton's elbow. I've never seen a glove that high on a fighter since Roy Jones boxed John Ruiz and had to use those 10-ounce grants, which were the same thing. But anyway, 3-0, 30-27, Hatton.
Hatton's trainer, Billy Graham, told Harold Letterman that the size of the glove makes it harder for Ricky to get his punches into the spaces where normally he would be able to fit an 8-ounce glove in. Fascinating. You don't think it could make that big a difference, but Graham said he just can't land the same kinds of shots because sometimes he can't find the gap as well.
With the clean shots he's landing, how much more damage would he have done with 8-ounce gloves?
Hands-free, hands-free. Hands-free.
This fight might have been over already.
What do you think, Emmanuel?
Ricky's not a devastating one-punch puncher anyway. He's a balanced-out fighter. But I think that it would have been a more exciting fight. I do think he would have landed much more cleaner and punches and had a lot more effect. Right now, the gloves, I think, are being handicapped to him, as far as I can see.
Of course, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. Urango isn't accustomed to fighting with 10-ounce gloves either. It's true of both fighters here tonight.
But Urango's a kind of a slower, methodical type fighter anyway, where Ricky is a more fast, explosive type speed puncher, and I think it would affect him a lot more so than a guy like Urango, which is more of a physical type guy, a plotter, so to say.
When we have seen Hatton in recent years in his fights, it's though he's been all substance and no style. Here tonight, he's showing us some style.
It's
along with the substance.
Yeah, but Urango is making him still punch a lot more, whereas Urango is moving forward, pressuring him. Whereas Casazu, was the example, was just opposite. He backed back and Ricky set the tempo. So even though he's winning it, it's a little pressure that's being put on him to make him punch a lot more than he likes to.
Hatton did a nice job of blocking Urango's body shot with his left elbow. He's thought of mostly as an offensive fighter, but he's not without defensive skills. Very few silent moments in the fight. When Ricky Hatton is fighting, you can hear the almost constant roar that's put up by British fans here, but that round ends relatively silently, and Urango holds up his fists as if to say, now I'm beginning to take over, and instantly the crowd boos him.
Because you're not doing it. You of all people, don't go fucking honest on that. You can step to the side and just get a pit of the stomach. You've got to conserve some energy with skins. It's just sat walk. It's just, you're going to fucking have to. You're not making the effort to do it. Get round him where he can't do anything. You've just got to nullify his work. He's just going to otherwise he's going to just go keep walking you down. He's going to take a bit of shifting. So, when he comes, top him a couple of times, then come around there. Try and get there. And if you can't get him, at least he can't do anything to you.
Come on, we're down. We're gonna win. We're gonna win, Dad. Come on.
When Urango lifted his arms at the end of that round, the Brits started chanting, "Uria, Uria, Uria." Manchesterese for "Who are you? Who are you?"
Maybe because of the pace and the way he fights, a Hatton fight seems to go by fast. We're already in the 5th round, and it feels like the fight started about 5 or 6 minutes ago.
But Urango doesn't throw a lot of punches, because if he did, it would be a much more exciting fight. Ricky's having to make an adjustment and be prepared, I think, for himself to go for a good 12-round decision fight. And Urango is trying to counterpunch.
Oh, there's a hard body shot by Urango, which Tony Weeks deems to be below the guard, and Hatton steps away momentarily, but doesn't bother to take any more time than that. Hatton stepping forward and throwing right-hand leads. Classic tactic against the southpaw. He hasn't done it all that much, but that's an adjustment you might see more and more frequently through the rest of the fight. Good right hook to the body by Urango.
Handspring, handspring, mountain sweeps. Come on, handspring, mountain sweeps. Stop.
Tony Weeks speaks Spanish and quite frequently will use it to try to get Urango to hear his instructions in there. Good body shot again by Urango. It seems as though Juan Urango has made a decision here to drop his attack and go to the rib cage. It's an adjustment that Hatton hasn't yet adjusted to.
Yeah, I think he's following the orders from his corner from the last round. They told him he's going to have to pick it up. He's losing the fight. He's going to have to step to him a little bit more, and he's doing just that.
Now Hatton fires a body shot to the ribcage of Urango, lands that right up the middle again, but once again Urango pops him to the body and hurts him.
Urango's landing very good body punches this round. Ricky is not boxing and moving as well as he was before. He's leaning in a lot more on those punches. They're getting caught with body punches.
Smart tactic by Urango to switch to the body punches. Hatton was beating him to the punch upstairs consistently. Now Ricky has slowed down, and Urango's pace is rising.
It seems like those body punches have hurt Ricky, and he's still hurt by him right now.
I'll give Urango credit. He's made an adjustment in this fight. Normally he comes forward looking to counter his opponent. Now he's been willing to take the lead.
A lot of fighters find it extremely difficult to land left hooks against a southpaw, but Hatton's so quick, he's been able to get in his left hook upstairs against Urango. Still, more and more often going to the straight right-hand lead.
Urango's most damaging punches seem to be his right hand, particularly the right hand to the body.
Now, during this round, we've been watching Jose Luis Castillo, who got a narrow escape, split decision in the first fight against Herman and Gujo, and has a possible date with Hatton later this year. We already told you what a big fan of the sport Castillo is, but there's a lot more to this than being a fan. He's got money on the table, he is rooting for the guy in the light blue trunks, and he is watching intently.
Coming up, guys. Thank you.
Manager Fernando Beltran standing right behind, counting the money.
He's not won a round, do you understand? You're okay. I think you're going to take a lot of shifting. Get right and stick him with straight shots. Get to the side, stick him with straight shots, and stick him with screw shots.
Don't let him hold on. Push him off. Push him off. Push him off. This fight is ours. Push him out with your body. Come on. Work him, buddy. Work his body. Work his body.
There was a sea change in CompuBox numbers in the 5th round. Suddenly, Urango landing 23 out of 52 power shots, and Hatton only 13 out of 41. The simple adjustment of dropping his attack from upstairs to the body paid huge dividends for Juan Urango. And Castillo, watching in his dressing room, may be saying, hey, the body is where it's at, baby. That's where you're supposed to fight.
And I see a little concern in Ricky Hatton's corner a little bit. I think for the first time, after feeling the strength and power of Urango, he has a little bit more respect for Urango.
And now this time, it's Urango who gets a chance to rest after what Tony Weeks deemed to be a low shot from Hatton. Tony Weeks telling Urango, you've got 5 minutes if you want him, and Urango looks as though he's going to take a good long time to come back from this one. Now he's ready. A fighter doesn't want to take so long to recover from the low blow that he gets cold, but on the other hand, he don't want to go back into the ring compromised.
Yeah, but very seldom will you see a fighter take the 4 or 5 minutes. I think a lot of them because of the pride and the fact that they really just want to get back to the fight after that. Because when you have a protection cup on, usually it's very seldom to get really that seriously hurt. That's why they have the rule that you can't win a fight by a low blow, so to say, unless you just had a series of them. And they just stopped the fight from it, but not one single low blow.
Now, after what happened in the last round, it appears that Hatton is coming back in this round to say, okay, you want to go to the body? I'll show you going to the body. I can match you body shot for body shot. Hatton upstairs with the right hand. Pace of the fight changed. Another body shot from Hatton right in the middle of Urango's belly. And Urango kind of nodding as if to say, all right, we're fighting now.
Yeah, Urango's a very physically strong fighter. The more I'm watching him, the more I'm respecting his physical strength and nothing else.
Hatton again with that thudding left hook upstairs. Urango lands his right hook. Again, they trade body shots in close. Weeks has got a lot of work in front of him tonight. Two guys who do go forward and throw a lot of punches from different angles. Clinch, body shot, low blow, clinch, body shot, low blow. Tony Weeks is sweating in there.
This is the mauling style that we've seen Hatton in often, throwing 1 or 2 punches and falling in.
Well, he's succeeded in slowing Urango down with the body attack in the first 2 minutes of this round, Emmanuel.
So far, the fight has turned back in his favor again. He's fighting pretty much at the tempo he wants to fight at, and he's landing, he's outboxing and outpunching Urango at this point.
Urango again tries to hammer Hatton to the body with the right hand. Now Urango says, all right, let's go upstairs again. Hatton lands a left hook.
Stop.
Very few fighters have fans backing with this kind of passion that you feel in this room. About 6,500, 7,000 people, well over $1 million gate. Hatton used to fighting before crowds 3 times as big in Manchester.
Well, there's no question that the 22,000 Mancunians, as they called him, were a huge factor for Hatton in his win over Costa Tszyu. Tszyu, the veteran professional, didn't necessarily seem intimidated by the crowd, but discouraged for sure.
Right, come on. You can't let him hug you. Push him off. Push him off. And attack the body. Don't let him grab you. He just wants to waste time. He just wants to waste time. That's it. He doesn't let you work.
It's to you. You cannot have this guy marching forward, slinging shots at you, and you do all the fucking work. You understand what I mean, don't you? Right, well, do you believe me? I do believe you. Right, well, close.
Here you see Hatton land a low blow right there, and it was right there at the point where I don't think it did a lot of really super serious damage, but enough for him to lose the round, possibly our point on him.
That particular shot by Urango right on the belt, of course, was on the opposite side of Tony Weeks, who's working as hard as he can, but can't possibly see everything.
No, he couldn't see it. I've made a mistake on that. I don't think he was, maybe lost around. He just got a caution from the referee for the blow.
Hatton's 28 total connects in that round, his highest number for the fight, and after Urango had doubled him in power shots the round before, Hatton turned around and tripled Urango in that round. So, Harold, how do you have it through 6?
Okay, Jim, 59, 55, 5 rounds to 1, Ricky Hatton. Jim, after a great 5th round, Juan Urango just didn't fight the 6th round. I can't understand it. I mean, I thought he had him figured out. He comes back and didn't do a damn thing in round 6. But, Ricky Hatton really impresses me. I'm sure he's impressing the judges. He's got a hell of a variety. Left uppercuts, right uppercuts, left hooks, right hooks, straight right hand leads. If you watch the punches, it's amazing how many things he does. 5-1 Hatton.
Come on.
And you keep expecting him to tire. You keep thinking, well, nobody can fight 180 seconds of every round like this. But, Emmanuel?
He has great stamina, but there's one thing that he does after a lot of his punches sometimes. He does take a little break on his little clinches and tie up to get his win. Right there.
Yep, right there. It's a different way of resting than what most other fighters do.
Yeah, and it's not a prolonged clinch where you could say, well, he's holding. He does it just enough to take a little breather.
So I guess he deserves a few beers after a night of work like this, huh?
You know what makes Ricky Hatton so popular, and I'm one of his best fans, and is my buddy, too, It's not just his exciting style of boxing, but his personality is just so engaging. And to be a successful person and to remain humble is one of the greatest attributes you can have, and he has it.
Well, he's kind of a cross between a Rottweiler and a Golden Retriever. In the ring, he's a Rottweiler.
Maybe the one person in the sport who is least his fan is another British fighter named Junior Witter, who holds a title in this weight class and who is constantly clamoring for a chance to fight Hatton. And Hatton doesn't like Witter any more than Witter likes Hatton, and Ricky keeps saying, I'll never fight him. That's the most money he could ever make, and I'm just not going to give it to him.
And he's right.
He's right about the money, that's for sure. Whether he'll continue to resist and never fight him remains another question. I can remember when Oscar De La Hoya spent years saying he would never fight Fernando Vargas. And he ultimately used that tactic to set Vargas up to fight him in exactly the way he wanted him to fight him, too.
I agree with you, Jim. They'll fight someday. Later in Hatton's career, after he's tried to make as much money as he can in the U.S. Perhaps or probably with Castillo, maybe Mayweather way down the road.
Urango takes the chance of raising his gloves again, and again the crowd immediately jumps on him for it. Mosley Collazo, that's an interesting matchup. Remember, Collazo's the guy who gave Hatton so much trouble last year in Boston. Vivian Harris trying to come back. And Miguel Cotto, maybe the most damaging body puncher in the sport now, against Otai Urcal in Puerto Rico.
You might get a pit of the stomach if you get round him anyway. Don't stand in front of this fucker and don't stand off him too much. Pop him.
Left upper hand. Right here. Left, the upper hand. Throw. He's winning time. He's moving around. That's for his benefit, but we've got 4 rounds. We've got to take this time. Push him and throw.
Combi box numbers through 7, and incidentally, there are 5 rounds to go. You might want to mention that to Urango's corner, not 4. Combi box numbers through 7. Average per round. Urango 13 out of 48. Hatton 23 out of 70. Bringing up the question immediately, can you win a fight throwing only 48 punches per round against a guy like Ricky Hatton?
And you know what's so interesting to me, and I think in Urango's mind, he's winning this fight. And everybody in his corner is telling him one thing, but I think he himself is convinced that he's winning this fight. And if he keeps that mindset and doesn't pick up his pace, he's going to be very shocked at the decision.
Very interesting. You'll recall in the preceding fight, Jose Luis Castillo told the guys in his corner, what are you talking about? I'm not losing this fight. I'm not having trouble. Shortly after that, the most veteran judge of the group, Chuck Jampa, gave the last 3 rounds of the fight to Ngojo. There's a big right hand upstairs by Juan Urango.
You know, I always wondered if Urango used his right jab, how effective he could be, because he is right-handed, and he just doesn't use his right jab, which is the difference between guys like him and Marvelous Marvin Hagler.
I always wonder about any fighter who doesn't liberally use his jab. George Foreman's greatest line, I always thought as our expert commentator back in his years of sitting in your chair, Emmanuel, was this sport is easy if you have a jab.
George Foreman knocked out a lot of people by setting them up with a jab like he did Michael Moore, and they never saw the right hand.
Well, it's probably truer in the heavyweight division, but we could always tell when Lennox Lewis's great nights were coming. That was when he threw more than 30 jabs per round. If he didn't, he was vulnerable.
I don't care which fighter if I'm working with, I believe in the left jab, always. I think that's the most important key punch in boxing.
Or in Urango's case, the right jab.
The right jab in this case.
Everybody talks about the new Colombian middleweight, Edison Miranda, and his monster right hand. But his left jab eats up the ring. It looks almost like Lennox Lewis in there.
You never see the right hand because you become so preoccupied with the left jab.
Urango just not throwing enough jabs to give Hatton an initial problem to deal with.
But he feels that he's winning the fight still.
Well, he's a confident athlete, very calm, taking a punch right through the middle of the guard as Ricky Hatton throws a right-hand lead up and under, and then hammers with the left hook as he backs away. Urango misses with the left hand, and Hatton manages to tap him twice, using his feet better and more rapidly than the Colombian fighter who lives in Miami.
And Urango is fighting like a fighter who lifts weights. Even if he's just naturally muscle like it, the muscles are really slowing him down, and his punches doesn't come off nowhere near as fast as they should.
The fan is always impressed with the sculpted Kenny Norton-like body, but it isn't always the best way to be.
No, outside of Mike Tyson, most of the great punches that I saw are always the guys who were loosely built. And even Mike wasn't really that devastating after about 7 rounds, because muscles tire and slow down as the fight progresses.
Urango still seems to think he's winning the fight. He's not.
Hey, listen.
Or at least it would appear.
What are you doing? Come on, let go. When he's holding on, push him off. Come on, you got to be an animal. You've got to be an animal. It's going to be a decision for them. They're going to vote for him. You understand? We don't win the fight that way. You've got to pressure, throw more. Work it. If he grabs you, push him off. Come on, push.
You're not. When you're inside, when you feel comfortable, maybe get one move, might get a pit of the stomach, then you might get somewhere with him. But just one move, don't try anything flash. Don't try anything. Because he's not done any work, really, and he's just steam forward like a train, yeah? Tie the fucker up. Don't be the hero, Ricky. Don't be the hero, and we're going with a title, right?
You saw the kid brother of Hatton at ringside with the rest of the family. He fought on the undercard and won a decision.
That's Matthew Hatton, fought on the undercard earlier this evening.
Has a record of about 29-3, I believe.
Urango has a twin brother in Colombia. In fact, his nickname is the Iron Twin. His twin brother is also a fighter, but his record is 1-0.
Separate.
You know, we've seen a number of very strong, very tough, very determined fighters come out of Colombia with unbeaten records, with 95% knockout records, and wind up getting schooled the first time they meet a good boxer. And even though Hatton is certainly not going to win any medals or write any books about classic boxing, he is out boxing Urango here.
Well, case in point, of course, the fabulous young prospect, Joel Julio, tremendous knockout punching power, eye-catching skills, but schooled by Carlos Quintana and faded in the heat of Las Vegas here last summer and picked up his first loss. Ricardo Torres ultimately outboxed by Miguel Cotto in Atlantic City. Edison Miranda, tremendously eye-catching skills and power, etc. But he lost to Arthur Abraham, even though he broke Abraham's jaw in the 4th round.
It shows that you can have a good record or whatever, but it depends on your level of competition that you're competing with.
Well, and it also depends on the level of training you're getting.
Stop.
Hard right hand by Urango. But generally for Juan Urango, through the middle portion of the fight, it's been one punch at a time. Since that round, in which he put together a lot of body punches, clearly won the round, gave Hatton trouble, Hatton has continued to be able to flow and put his punches together in combination and swamp Urango in total output, which is very eye-catching to the judges.
Rick is fighting a very smart fight when you consider that you know, he's fighting a guy who comes in, covers up tight defense, and who's said by his own admission he's a counterpuncher. So Ricky's got to fight a very smart fight, and I think he's doing a good job mixing up the boxing, moving away, clinching, doing whatever's necessary to try to win the championship.
We've been amazed over the years at how accurately CompuBox can predict who's going to win a fight based on numerical formulas. Hatton said that he had distractions prior to fighting Collazo in Boston that made it difficult for him to put forth his best performance. Fighting at 147, last May, he averaged 62 punches thrown per round. Tonight, back at 140 pounds, throwing 69 punches per round. It's only a 7-punch difference, but round by round by round, it adds up. You do that for 10 rounds, you've thrown 70 more punches than you did a year ago.
Stop.
In fact, about 95% of the fights are normally won by whoever throws the most punches.
Stop.
His head. Plenty. Get more.
It's going.
I want more. Listen to me, Bricker. Listen to me. You've got to fucking suck it up now, but you've got to be smart. When you stand off, he nails you, and he knows. I don't give a fuck about you winning the rounds. Do you understand? Please, trust me. You just got to get through this now. You know what I mean?
There's Matthew Hatton, a winner on the undercard early this evening. It's got to be tough on your ego to be number 2 in the family when number 1 is somebody with the glamour of Brother Ricky.
You're winning. You're doing miles in front. Don't throw it away. You can lose this now if you don't keep it together. Don't stay away, because you're staying here when you're pulling back.
You're ready to go. 3-4 punches. Come on, let's go. Be continuous. Come on, throw punches. Don't let them recuperate.
Round 10 begins, and you heard Billy Graham trying to impress upon Ricky Hatton a sense of urgency. You could lose this fight if you slow down. Could he? Here's Harold Letterman's scorecard.
You know, Jim, that's the strangest instructions I ever heard in my life. 88-83, 7 rounds to 2, Ricky Hatton. At the end of round 8, he told Ricky Hatton, just tie the guy up. Ricky Hatton spent the entire 9th round holding the guy. He didn't even throw a punch. He held him for a solid 3 minutes. Now he's doing the same thing. Why Billy Graham is taking a guy that's winning every round out of his game plan is totally beyond me. But be as it may, Hatton's way ahead, 7 rounds to 2, 88-83.
I have the same score.
That's a line we don't always hear.
Well, the rounds have always been pretty clear, except for the one round where Urango, I think, hit him with a right hand to the body, hit Ricky Hatton. But other than that, it's like a pattern round of Ricky just outboxing him, better ring generalship.
Oh, they rip each other with hooks. And it appeared that Urango's hook did more damage, but Hatton jumps on him and comes back.
Urango, you notice when he throws his left hand, Urango, he's very seldom effective with his left hand because it's not his natural power punch. Most all of his power comes from right-hand punches.
And he only throws about 7 jabs around, so let's face it, he's mostly a right hook fighter.
Right, and even though he had a good exchange there, as the round progresses, you're going to see Ricky take more control again, and Urango probably fall back once again to being too slow and ineffective like he just did there with that left hand before.
And by the way, Billy Graham may, in Harold Letterman's opinion, say the wrong thing to Ricky Hatton between rounds, but during the rounds, the fans keep up the intensity and keep encouraging their man to go, go, go.
What is it that Urango needs now? He needs a troop surge.
It's just, first of all, he's not a one-punch guy, which he's fighting like he's the guy that's going to knock somebody out with one punch. And he's just too slow. It looks like his body's too tightly muscled. He's too slow.
A lot of the guys he fought, he could do that too.
You know, Ricky Hatton, this is his 41st fight. I guess you can really see the experience showing. And it's 41 fights against quality competition, which makes a difference too.
Be interesting to see if everybody in Jose Luis Castillo's dressing room is still seated in a fixed position and watching intently, as was the case before, or whether by now they've begun to relax and disperse a little bit about the room, thinking, okay, we're going to be all right. Ricky's going to cruise on in here, and we'll set that big money date up.
I think they are relaxed. I think they're very comfortable with the way the fight is going, because Urango hasn't shown anything that he's going to land in a big devastating one-punch knockout punch.
Urango is about a 6-1 underdog, and he's fighting like it.
2 rounds. We got 2 rounds. You gotta knock him down. You gotta knock him down. Gotta beat him. You gotta come out and beat him. Think of it well. Throw with the left and the right up. With the left to the body and then the other one up top. You understand? Your right hand has to hit his body up top. Come on, hit his head up top. Left down, the right up top.
Who cares? 6 minutes, 2 more times, and then we'll go home. Yeah? And we'll get through this. We'll get through this, and you'll have the title. Don't get crazy now. Don't get crazy. Everybody goes through this. Every fighter goes through this. Everyone has to con somebody sometime.
And what was that line? Everybody has to what somebody sometime? We need an interpreter in Hatton's corner.
Where they speak English.
Yeah.
You know,
what is the line? We have a common heritage in different languages.
Well, coincidentally, the Lampley family began in Manchester, England, but I don't understand it. Can't help it.
Stop. Come on, hands-free. Separate. Hands-free.
We're in the 11th of a scheduled 12 rounds. And at no point has Juan Urango stepped up the pace in such a way as to really change the tempo of the fight. Only in one round, when he threw more body punches than Hatton and landed them and seemed momentarily to be gaining momentum. But since that time, it's been Hatton energy. You know, Harold Letterman talked about the round in which Hatton seemed to slow down and hold.
Good right hand by Urango.
Excellent right hook. He does it every once in a while, but Hatton just keeps coming.
And the reason that he's not doing any better is 2 things. One, in his own mind, I think he doesn't realize that he needs to step up the pace, and he doesn't have any urgency because he feels he's winning. And the next thing is he's just too slow. But I think more so than that, he really believes he's winning the fight.
Now there's the headbutt, which I predicted would happen back in round 2. Finally, it takes place. And Urango, who earlier got a rest for a low blow, gets time now to recover from the butt.
Okay, let's stand right here. You want time? You want time?
Hatton might finish the fight without bleeding, incidentally, and that doesn't happen all that often.
Okay, what? Nope. Okay, watch your head. Come on.
That's a mark of the fact that Urango's basically a one-handed fighter. The way you get a guy to bleed is to hit him with something he doesn't see coming. And Ricky sees most of what Urango throws. There's a left hand by Urango, landed on the chin of Hatton. Finally.
Stop.
Ricky's tired a little bit now, so he's sort of landing punches and angling and moving away. He's now landing punches and then moving in and smothering Urango.
Yeah,
taking a break.
He takes the break by smothering. Then he gets an impulse and he says, okay, I'll throw 3 uppercuts. Boom, boom, boom. And then he holds again, gets another little rest.
The fact that he can get away with whatever he chooses because Urango is just too slow.
Hatton now palpably holding. This happened also in the Colazo fight.
Yeah, this is the ugly part of Hatton's game. It's, he's crowd pleasing for everybody from his hometown, but this is not going to win a lot of friends every place.
Well, it can't all be Arturo Gatti and never hold, do nothing other than just hit, and get hit.
Yeah, but this is one punch and hold. It's a smart tactic because he's way ahead of the card.
But it's an ugly round.
But I think we've seen about as many jabs tonight as there are snow plows in Las Vegas.
You've thrown more jabs than they have, Larry. Here's the headbutt.
Right here you see that definitely accidental headbutt right there. And it's amazing that Ricky Hatton didn't get any kind of injury to his jaw.
And there's the answer to the Castillo question. Nobody has moved. That is a live shot. They are going to sit there and watch all 36 minutes and make certain that that big purse stays in place.
Be violent, be violent. It's a tremendous fight.
Come on, get some water in. You're not laying no fucker down. You will if your hand the chin out to try and get beat. Yeah?
It isn't too often that we see a fighter with an MBE in order of the British Empire, undefeated and looking like he's going to stay that way.
Well, the crowd rose to start the 12th round to their feet, urging their man to close the show. He's fighting for the first time on the Vegas Strip. He says it's been his dream ever since he was a child, rooting for Roberto Duran to come to this town and take his place among the great fighters in the sport. And as I mentioned at the beginning of the show, Joe Calzaghe of Wales, the other huge British star, the unbeaten champion at 168 pounds, is 42-0. Ricky Hatton is trying to win this fight and move his record to 42-0.
Well, I think he's did that. He realized that he's won the fight now, and his mind seems to be just on not getting knocked out, surviving, and grabbing the victory, even though it may not be an impressive last round, but just taking the win and going on and moving towards his fight with Castillo or whoever.
That's pretty much what happened against Colazo. This doesn't seem to have been as close a fight. But this will leave us with both a lot of positive things to say and question marks about Hatton as he goes forward toward a fight with Castillo, who was clearly subpar tonight, but escaped with a narrow decision win against Herman and Gudjo.
You know, Urango is still a somewhat difficult opponent to fight to some degree. Very physically strong man, takes a great punch, and always coming in, putting pressure on you. Southpaw. And Ricky realized, I think, early on that he couldn't hurt him.
Especially with those gloves.
10-ounce gloves, as we mentioned. Both fighters fighting for the very first time in their careers in 10-ounce gloves. Because the state of Nevada instituted a rule requiring all fighters above 135 pounds to wear them. whereas around the rest of the world, the dividing line is 154.
Personally, I really don't think I like the 10-ounce gloves on these small guys like this.
That's one point of view. I don't like seeing Levander Johnson beaten into a hospital and ultimately into a grave by constant hammering at the hands of Jesus Chavez.
But that would have been with any ounce gloves, even if they was 12. When you get hit with that many blows to the head, you know, it's going to take that effect. I don't think that was really due to the size of the gloves.
Head and body. It wasn't just the head attack. Chavez is a major league body puncher.
Tremendous puncher.
Left hook by Hatton. He's put up a little bit of a show of energy here in the 12th. He's still using that clinching tactic every once in a while to get a break. Afterward, he can say, well, that was because Urango's a southpaw, and he was coming forward, too, and he was falling into my arms. But the fact of the matter is, you're right, Emmanuel. He uses it to gain energy. And as the bell sounds, Urango begins celebrating as though he thinks he scored the big upset, and Hatton comes to the corner and stands on the ropes to cater to his crowd, and clearly, both men think they won. And Urango's cornermen start lifting him up on their shoulders. This may be act as if, but they can't change the scorecards now.
Maybe they know something that we don't know.
A fighter who judges his own fights is like a client who acts as his own lawyer. Not the smartest thing in the world.
No importa, pero la victoria es tuya. Yo tengo la victoria ganada.
Let's take a look at who the official judges will be for this fight. Robert Hoyle, not all that terribly experienced, but we know him. He was in Germany last year and had Vladimir Klitschko well ahead of Chris Bird in their second fight when Klitschko knocked Bird out. Blind man could have scored that fight. Dave Moretti, one of the best in the sport. Again, one of the 5 of 6 judges who scored Jermaine Taylor over Bernard Hopkins in Taylor's 2 fights against Hopkins here in Nevada. The only dissenter was Jerry Roth. And he is perhaps the most experienced and best-known judge in the sport outside of, say, Harold Letterman. And he is the 1 out of 6 Las Vegas judges who thought that Hopkins had beaten Jermaine Taylor in the first of their 2 fights. And now Michael Buffer stands by once again with the official decision.
Ladies and gentlemen, we go to the scorecards. All 3 judges, Robert Hoyle, Dave Moretti, and Jerry Roth, score the bout 119-109 to the winner by unanimous decision from Manchester, England. The winner, still undefeated and new IBF, IBO light welterweight champion of the world, Ricky Hitman Hatton.
Final CompuBox numbers, and you saw the official judges gave Hatton even more credit than did our own Harold Letterman. Urango landing 105 fewer. Hatton throwing 205 more. Hatton landing at a significantly higher percentage. Power punches. Maybe this is where Urango thought he had done something, but Hatton landing 96 more, throwing 152 more, and again, landing at a significantly higher percentage. So the CompuBox numbers match with the scores. Ricky Hatton cruises through. If all goes well later this year, we may have Hatton against Castillo. Larry Merchant stands by with the Manchester Star.
Thank you, Jim. Congratulations, Ricky. You said before the fight you weren't going to fight fire with fire, and for at least the first half of the fight, it seemed that you were giving him a boxing lesson. Was that the plan?
It was, yeah, but he was very, very tough, and I like to think I showed a boxing brain. I knew when to tie him up, smother his work, and when to box on the outside, and the way I fight and the way Juan Urango fights, it was always going to be tough, but I think I showed another side to myself, a clever fight.
So you consciously decided that after literally cruising through him as a boxer, that you felt he pressured you into changing what you were doing?
You know, like all my heroes, and I think Turo Gatti springs to mind. That first 4 and 6 round, we looked like Willie Pep, and then for some reason the last 6 we go a bit like Joe Frazier. But no, I mean I think I boxed a smart fight. Don't think I was at my best. It was a big fight for me, moving back down the weight. I felt better for moving down the weight, but the way he fights, the way I fight, so it was always going to be a struggle, and I never make life easy for myself.
Were you just defending what you knew was a lead in the last 2-3 rounds?
Yeah, I don't wish to be disrespectful to Urango, but the first maybe 4, 5, 6 rounds felt comfortable. Maybe I took my foot off the gas. Your hair's sticking up, Larry.
No, thank you.
Maybe I took my foot off the gas a little bit, but you know, I think I boxed a smart fight. You're a very durable opponent. He will take some shifting by anyone, you know.
Did you watch Castillo's fight? And if you did, were you very anxious about the outcome?
Yeah, obviously I wanted him to win, and I kept glancing down at the monitor in my changing room. I mean, obviously, you know, it's a super fight. You know, I like to think I'm in the top 10 pound for pound, and obviously most people would have Castillo in the top 10 pound for pound. Well, those are people you want to fight against, so it was very important that he won and that he made the weight. I mean, I'm a little fatty and I have to make the weight, so it's nice to see Jose make it as well.
Well, as you put it, you both have the same disease. You can't walk past a Burger King.
Yeah, we have that same disease in our legs. We can't walk past McDonald's, Burger King, and that. I put £3 on walking past McDonald's, let alone going in it. So I think I want to be a bit more disciplined in my approach in that area.
Thank you very much, Ricky, and we're looking forward to you and Castillo. Jim?
All right.